Hey, everybody, this is Liz here, and today I have somebody from the North that has come to visit us and tell us about himself, and I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself and where he's from.
So my name is Vince Van Dam. I'm from Medicine Hat, Alberta, which, if you're in the States, it's about 5 hours north of Great Falls, Montana. And it's pretty close to the border with the U.S. We're about an hour and a half from the U.S. border if we head directly south from here. And we're kind of like similar to Colorado, I would say. Like our climate, we're not as close to the mountains as Denver, but we're kind of, if you went about 2 hours, 2.5 hours west of Denver to kind of give you perspective.
Excellent. So we'll get a little bit into that later about the types of services you offer there. But how did you first hear about Augusta?
So I started my company. It was called Windmill Lawn and Garden Care, and I started it in March of 2019. I had no idea what I was doing. I was really just going for it, just going to start something new, start a business, and it was low barrier to entry. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I right away looked for podcasts, and I found Mike's landscape business course podcast, and it right away helped me a ton. So I just listened to that. I was mowing lawns, listening to that podcast, and that's how I originally heard about Augusta.
Awesome. And do you have family or anybody that you're living with?
Yes, I have my wife and my three kids. So I've got two boys. One is 8, one is 6, and we have a little baby girl. She just turned 9 months old a couple days ago.
Oh, you guys aren't sleeping very much unless
No,
you
well,
sleep.
actually, we are. She sleeps through the night since she was about 3 months old. She's been sleeping through the night. She's a great little baby that way.
That's great. So when you started your business, had you planned to start your own business? Like what was your schooling up to that time?
That's a great question. Actually, originally my schooling was I first went to Medicine Hat College here for a year of policing and security, and I realized I'm not really like the kind of person that likes to push people around or be really like physically aggressive with people.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, maybe this isn't really a good fit for my personality type. I really enjoyed the learning part of it, but I actually ended up going to a university in Calgary for a Bachelor of Theology for youth ministry. I did that for 2 years, and I got married to my wife and realized that I probably should do some work and help provide for the family. So I was working for my uncle at the time. He had a farmer's market booth with multiple locations. He sold like tomatoes and cucumbers, just a little farmer's market vendor type thing. And I had the opportunity to manage it, and I had no idea about management. I thought, oh yeah, I can manage. That sounds easy.
Yeah.
So having no idea about management, I got into it and realized that there was a lot to learn. So I started reading business books like Simon Sinek, Start with Why, or like Jim Collins, Good to Great, and just got really really inspired about how a good business can make a difference in people's lives, especially for the team and for the customers. So that was my schooling that got me into business. I was actually into theology originally to help people in that regard, but with business, I realized it was more kind of up my alley in terms of it's fast paced, it's changing, there's exciting things. So
Yeah. So in the youth ministry, did you get paid for that?
no, I did not. Like, I never actually got into full-time ministry where I was paid. I did a couple volunteer things locally here in Medicine Hat before I actually moved out there to take theology. And while I was doing it, I didn't have much time to actually go out and do any youth ministry work. I was on the weekends working for my uncle to make enough money to kind of get through school. And yeah, so there wasn't actually a lot of time to do youth ministry. There was a practicum involved in the program, but I didn't get to that third year where the practicum was part of that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a little bit hard to do that and start a business too.
Yes. So actually, how I got into this business was my wife and I got pregnant with our first son, and we realized we couldn't live in Calgary anymore. It was too expensive to have a baby and live there. So my dad offered me the option of starting with his business. He has a garden center. So he said, if you work for me for a while, you can eventually take over. So I moved out here to take over the garden center. He and I butt heads. Like, he's an awesome person. We love each other. We still do. And we just butt heads on management and how to treat people.
Yeah.
He treats people really well. He's got like a pretty tough manager in place, and she's an awesome hard worker. We just different generations. We didn't get along super well, and I said, why don't you just let me start my own company? We'll call it Windmill Lawn and Garden Care. So that way there's marketing from the garden center kind of out in the public. There's already a brand built around it here locally. And that's how I got into lawn care and landscaping. It just kind of was the easy transition from what we were already doing.
Yeah. Did he recognize that that's what needed to happen?
I think in his wisdom he did. Yeah. Too many entrepreneurs in the business kind of spoils too many chefs in the kitchen spoil the soup, and I think we were kind of, stepping over each other too much, and it wasn't a good situation. But I'm glad it worked out how it did, and now we get along even better. So
Awesome. So how did you get started with your business?
basically, my dad gave me some finances to help start the business, some capital originally, which I'm very blessed and grateful for. And yeah, I guess I just looked at, kind of what resources that I already have. I read a book called The $100 Startup. They
Yep.
talked about using, yeah, kind of making a bouquet out of the flowers you already have. And I thought, oh, okay, well, we've got this brand, we've got people that already know it. Mowing can't be that hard, although I was terrible at it in the beginning.
Yeah.
It was harder than I thought to do it well and to do it efficiently. And that's kind of how we got started. Yeah, I was able to buy the equipment. I used an old not broken, well, it was kind of broken down truck that my dad had sitting around, an old rust bucket. We put a wooden board and a sign on it, and
I love
just
it.
kind of went from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you started listening to the content, we had already franchised. And
Hmm.
so what caused you to call Lee or set up a call, because you knew this was something totally different than managing it all yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I started, I was really, this was my baby. This was the thing that I'm gonna build. It's my child kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
was really hesitant to franchise. I really liked the advice. I was trying to copy everything Augusta was doing without
Mhm. Yeah.
plagiarizing, I guess.
Yes, that's
And yeah, and it was like the things that I used from Augusta worked really well. And I said, oh, this is really helpful. Like we had our own P for P system that we copied using spreadsheets, and it was really, a lot of time, and it was really consuming in that regard. I think I'm going off track, but um,
yeah. So what caused you to call Lee when you're watching all this and you're thinking, I can
yes,
duplicate myself. I don't really need that.
that's a great question. So snow removal season was really rough last year. So we joined in April of 2023 this year, and December of 2022 was really rough. We had multiple events. Like we had more payroll than we had
Yeah.
for spring rush,
Yeah.
and fuel. It was just really stressful. Customers were upset because our team was burnt out. We weren't coming
Yes.
as quickly as we normally did, and I thought about going into another spring rush, having the systems we had before, which were not
Mhm.
systems. It was just it was all built around what was in my head.
Yeah.
And I was telling my wife, like, I don't know if I can go and do another spring with the baby, doing this by myself again. Like it
Yeah.
was, I need some help. I need some
Yeah.
wisdom from people. And I remembered the franchising thing. I was like, I'm just gonna look it up. So that night, we had to go do snow the next day, but I was up at midnight. I was like, I don't care.
Oh
Like,
man.
Lord, give me some answers. So I'm just reading through the franchising, the videos, watching the videos,
Mhm.
and all the questions that were answered in there. And the more I talked about it, the more it made sense. Like I'm just gonna talk to Lee and see what this is all about. And
Yeah.
yeah, right away it was pretty excited.
Did you feel pressured by him at all, or was he just giving you information?
No, I didn't feel pressured by Lee at all. I felt like he was really helpful, gave me lots of information, asked really good questions. Like he really wanted to understand where I was coming from and where the business was at. So I really felt like he knew, if it would be a good fit for me or not.
Hmm. That's fantastic. So I've heard that from others, and so that you're able to go away and make your own logical decision.
Yes, and he also recommended talking to other franchisees,
Oh
and he gave me a couple of people that would be, relatable to the size of business I already had, and also to another person geographically that was close to me, and also some other Canadians over in the West Coast to talk to. And at first, I was like, "Who, are these people drinking special Kool-Aid? Because they've all got a lot of good things to say about Augusta." And
yeah.
I didn't really hear like maybe one or two things like they could work on this slightly. I'm like, this is almost too good to be true. But Yeah, it's
Cool.
awesome.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
you started in April, you said. When did you come for training?
I came for training not until July. So because of our the training that I was supposed to go to was actually in February, and that's exactly when our baby was due to be born.
Oh,
And
man.
yeah, Lee was super gracious. He's just like, you know what? Just do the videos online, get the brand transitioned over, and just make sure you're at training in July. Which, like, under promise over deliver. I was ready to go out there to the West Coast. We were going to. I was going to bring, like, just drive out there with my wife, and that way, if we had the baby, she'd at least be with her parents.
Yeah.
They live over there too. Long story short, they live close to Bellingham in
Oh, cool.
Washington. So
That's awesome. So I
yeah,
didn't know that. So you ended up coming in July, but that
yes.
was after your spring rush. So how did you make it?
I think the videos of the recorded training were really helpful, and also just having the coaching calls. The regular coaching calls when you start. We had 6, I think it was, every week, so to kind of get the ball rolling. The Facebook group was and still is obviously a great resource if I have questions from other franchisees, and just having the coaching and the support, and having the systems, and having command center. Like, there's so many things.
So you were able to do all that before you even came for training.
Yes, and I think because of how things are so organized and
Hmm.
so simple and easy to follow that you guys have set up, it makes it really easy to implement it.
Yeah. So do you have a growth model or a solo?
We have a growth model.
So you started using command right away, or were you and your wife trying to manage that part yourself?
We started using Command Center right away. I kind of just went full in because I knew. Well, last season in 2022, we had an admin person. She was really good, but she didn't have the systems for me to be able to do her job properly. And there was a lot of back and forth communication and not a lot of um, simple answers for her, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. She would have had
Specialized
to learn
answers.
everything. She would have had to learn everything as well.
Exactly. So I told her we're actually going to use Command Center, so you're welcome to come back and work in the field, which she had done previously, and she actually wanted to start her own business. So she ended up starting a cleaning company, and
Cool.
she helps clean her house once in a while when we get a bit behind, and she's fantastic.
That's awesome. So you came for training. It was after your spring rush. And you said you followed all the videos and everything yourself. But did you do marketing or anything like that? Or were you organically able to have enough work for that spring season, except it was a little more organized now?
That's a good question. Yeah, basically, we decided to just focus on growing our mowing, like growing
Mhm.
recurring. We had a lot of project work, and we kind of had about a 50-50 split. So our main focus, after talking with Lee, was to just double down on mowing. Also, yeah, Chuck as well too. Gotta give him credit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, get a marketing strategy to get mowing going. So we had Google Local Services, Google Ads. We did door hangers.
Nice.
We did some every door direct mail just to get as many mowing, get the word out for mowing. And I think um, like a lot of customers knew us from Windmill before, so having that database already with quite a few clients to email and doing the one-click estimates was really helpful too.
So what's your climate like when you went back in July? Was it still like in full action, or did you get a slowdown in July and August?
Yeah, July and August is pretty slow here. So basically from early November to late March, it's kind of a snow removal season. It's usually really cold. We can get pretty warm temperatures in the winter, which for us is probably about, if it's 10 Celsius, which would be a really warm day, which is about, I don't know, like maybe 65, 70. Yeah, yeah, about 65 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And then into spring, it warms up pretty quick to about probably around 71 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. And then in the summer, July and August, it gets really hot and dry. So it gets to be about closer to about 100 Fahrenheit, and not a lot of rain. So it kind of slows down for project work, but
Mm-hmm.
there's still enough. People really irrigate a lot here, and
Oh,
their
good.
grass stays green, so we can mow all summer long.
Fantastic. So you do your training, you go back, you have a slow season, but it's Still pretty good. And then you move into fall. And what's your fall? Your winter, you have snow, but is your fall like a lot of leaves there?
There's quite a few trees in certain parts of the city, so it's not a big fall cleanup season like you have like on the East Coast. I see guys
Yeah.
with a big leaf vac truck,
Yes,
and like we don't
exactly.
have enough customer base to do that. And also, um, we've got a really short fall cleanup season because sometimes what will happen is the leaves will fall and then boom, the snow just comes on top of it.
Wow.
So then it
Yeah.
translates into a spring cleanup season.
Hmm.
But this year it's been extended, so we're doing some fall cleanups next week and hopefully the week after if the weather keeps holding. So it's been about a month and a half longer than normal, which is really good.
Nice. So then do you offer winter services? And then if it snows, you go into a whole different ball game?
Yes, yeah. So we do winter services. We don't include snow removal in that because snow removal can get really expensive. So we do that as a separate package. And this is our first year doing winter services. So for some of our customers, it's been a little bit like for them, they're not used to it. So like,
Yeah.
what is this? Yeah, no one here does it. But surprisingly, I think about so far 40% of our mowing clients are still on
Wow,
signing
that's
for it,
great.
which yeah, I didn't expect that many to stick on. Um, and it's extra revenue for us and more income for the team through the slower months. So it's gonna be a big boost.
And do you have plows and salters and everything for the winter? You
Oh,
can
I
produce
wish.
snow?
No, we do all residential, and we use snow throwers, like small
Oh,
single
yeah.
stage ones, shovels, backpack blowers. The snow volume we get, like the average snowfall is maybe about less than an inch, and it's usually dry and powdery, so we can just blow it off with a backpack
Nice.
blower. But sometimes we get heavier snows, or we need to use a machine to kind of clear like a snow thrower.
Mhm.
And then every 3 or 4 years, we get a huge, massive storm that'll leave, 3 or 4 feet snow with big drifts.
Whoa.
And that can take 2 or 3 days to clear the whole route. And people are pretty understanding. Like they know it takes a long time to get everybody done. So
Yeah. So this year, because you have more lawn care customers, you'll probably be busier when it does snow.
I think so. Our goal with snow this year was to not grow too much. We kind of had capacity for 3 trucks. So this year we kept those 3 trucks. So we raised our prices 20% to try to get more profitable because we
Mhm.
lost money on snow removal last year because we do most of it is a monthly contract.
Okay.
And that's because sometimes like it does get pretty warm here. It might be like a whole month where it doesn't snow, and I just want to be able to pay the team. So we raised those contracts. So we actually starting this year, we have a few less customers than we did last year, but we're actually going to earn more revenue wise. So we'll be able to service them faster and be more profitable in the work. And we'll need less people to do it so far. So I can pay those guys a bit more and kind of keep the team financially more stable over the winter, which is the goal.
Yeah. So how many employees do you have?
Currently, we have just myself and 2 other people for snow, and we have got a backup list of maybe 5 or 6 people that can come help out on a big heavy day. And then in the spring rush, we've got myself and we've got a working GM we're training up to take over the location, and then we've got about five people in the field with him as well. So
Wow.
yeah.
You grew that pretty fast.
Yeah, it grew pretty fast. It grew pretty fast from years 2 to 3. It grew quickly, and then it grew so fast that it was getting to be really stressful without good systems and help in the office for sure.
Yeah. How have you found that since you joined Augusta and are using probably the instant quotes for mowing and all of that? Have you been doing that?
Yes, we've been doing instant quotes. We've been doing as far as the stress levels go from when I was by myself to Augusta, it's night and day difference. I wouldn't say I'm working less yet. And even my
Yeah.
wife would say she's like, you probably worked more a lot this spring getting stuff ready with Augusta, but my mental health was a lot better, like a lot
Yeah.
less. When I'm home, I'm not thinking about work. And when I'm on the weekends, I'm not daydreaming or like stressing about the next week ahead
Yeah.
because it's so much more organized and ready to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how has it been leading a team?
Oh man, that's been a big help too, because one thing I struggled with was leadership.
Yeah.
Long story short, last year I had a manager in place, awesome guy in a lot of ways, but wasn't a good fit. So I let him go.
Oh
And
man.
I was kind of already an absentee owner. I was kind of in, like Mike talks about that architect stage. I kind of thought that's where I was at, but
Yep.
I was trying to skip over the management part and see if
Yeah.
I could, not have to really do that.
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing a great job, just letting our manager just do what he needs to do. I'm just delegating and getting out of the picture, but I wasn't paying attention, and there was a lot
Mhm.
of fighting in the crew and a lot of conflict. And when I let him go, a bunch of people left with him
Oh
because
man.
they were on his side. There was like a division in the company,
Yeah.
and I did that right before I went on a 4-week vacation,
Oh man.
which was not a good idea.
No.
Create more instability, and I just like replaced him with one of our project manager. I said, "Okay, you're going to be the new operations manager," and I thought everything was going to go smoothly. So after I left, all these people were quitting, and he was like, "What do I do?" And I was trying to like keep my, just spend time with my family on vacation and not let them down, because I made this promise that we'd finally get to spend some time together after all these
Yep.
years of putting time into the
Yeah.
business. And oh man, that was really stressful. And I just learned a lot more about my lack of awareness, I think,
Mhm.
with people situations, and how much more time I need to spend on with the team.
Mhm.
And one thing that Augusta's systems have actually just naturally helped with is the two meetings. So if we do a Monday meeting, where we just talk about the week ahead, we do a little bit of maybe training on something. We try to give them as much opportunity to talk about things that they're seeing that could be improved. Um, and then on Thursdays we have our culture meeting. So we usually have like a breakfast. We kind of bring some breakfast, and that way encourages more people to show up, because if
Yeah.
there's food, I find they'll be more
Exactly.
inclined to be there early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about leadership, or we talk about personal finance, and just try to just create more of a cohesive culture that way. And at the end of the day now, I think what's been really helpful too is just being there in the mornings and there at the end of the day, so they
Yeah.
know somebody cares about them, and someone's going to actually, if you had a long day, someone's there at the end of the day, whether it's myself or it's our working GM.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're the team doesn't feel like they're being abandoned at the end of the day after a long one. And then we do, at the end of each day now, we do like the Navy SEALs do an after action review.
Yes.
Just say like, hey, like this is where you're free to say, you're always free to be honest, but we really want to stress that, like, if you got a problem, if something didn't go well today, there's something you could do better as a team, or something that like leadership you feel like didn't help you out on, or could be improved, just be honest. And then we just have a lot of honest conversation about, some guys will say like, oh, I had a bad attitude this morning, I'm not a morning person, I got to work on that. Or
Yeah.
this went really well, like we talked with this customer and she was upset, but we smoothed things over, now she's really happy. So that's been really cool to see the just the systems that Augusta has
Yeah.
really help culture naturally. Helps me grow and gives me opportunity to speak more to people, and
Mhm.
spend more time with the team and get to understand their personal lives better. And it also gives them more time to speak up and be honest and identify problems and solutions together.
If you're having this recon at the end of the day, though, how do you route all their jobs and projects for everybody to get back?
Yeah, basically what we do is we basically always try to finish at the same time. So if one crew is done early, they'll start taking jobs from the other crew's route. And it's not like they're like taking the jobs per
Yeah.
se, but they'll just say, hey, we've got two lawns left to mow. How's everyone else doing? And the other team will say, actually, we're feeling kind of slow today. We've got 6 left. So then we'll just route 2 or 3 from theirs onto the other crew, and then they'll finish typically at the same time, come back. It doesn't work as well when we have our project crew going, because they're usually done sometimes a bit earlier, sometimes they'll be a little
Yeah.
bit later. But we actually just started doing it this September, and their project crew was really slow at that point. So they were some of them were actually done for the season, and some of them had joined the mowing crew. So it worked out okay. So we'll have to see how that works in the springtime.
Yeah. I found on P4P, though, that they didn't like me to take the jobs away. So they would rather work longer. So I had overachievers like Nick Reed, and I would dispatch. Do you use Service Autopilot?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would assign them all to him, but I wouldn't dispatch them because he'd be able to see them. And if he could see that he had 25 jobs, he would make sure he did those. So what I found is once we started P4P is that I would give them a route and I would try to do the same thing, have them all meet at the end of the day and everybody finish together. Well, do you know Austin Kahn?
No, I don't know Austin.
He worked for us too, and he owns a location in Texas. Well, he was a high achiever also, and I would say, hey, Austin, I took 2 of your jobs away and gave them to this route so that we could all get back at the same time. He's like, no, put them back on, because he'd already seen on P4P how much he was going to make, and he didn't want me to take jobs away. So I found that whole thought process changed. They used to be glad, right? Because you're on an hourly wage. But once they started P4P, they did not want me to ever give their jobs away at the end of the day.
That's interesting. Maybe yeah, like maybe it's a culture thing. Like maybe, I think too, after like working the spring rush where they had worked 12-hour days and they were working 5, sometimes 6 days. I think for them, like being done at the same time, just kind of having a slower fall
Yeah.
or September kind of thing was like, okay, that's cool. Let's kind of like mellow down a little bit. And yeah, there's only, I don't know, maybe it's, we only had one guy on our team that was like really aggressive with his P4P. I'm not gonna say aggressive in a negative way, but he was really he didn't
He
want
always had his eye on it.
oh yeah, he didn't want his P4P messed with at all. And he would be a bit more frustrated if he was paired with somebody who was kind of slower. So he wasn't a good trainer, but a really good worker in terms of efficiency and getting jobs done.
That's great. Yeah. I love the variety of different guys and putting new people with different trainers to see how some people are faster, some people are more articulate, and it's a good balance.
It is. And I think I don't know what you guys find. Maybe you find the same thing, but I find the articulate, kind of more detail-oriented people are better trainers. Like they're a bit slower and they want to make sure that their trainee does the job properly, which is a really good footing for when they get fast. And then they're not really, hopefully, if they're not skipping steps, and then they'll get yellow slips anyways. But
yeah. So I had guys and they would say, I would tell them, I'm going to put you with this calm person who's not so fast. They're going to train you well. And then I'm going to hand you off to somebody else. And they're going to teach you, you are slowing me down. You're making me lose money. You're making the company lose money. I'm going to teach you how to get fast. And they would put that pressure on them because they had the skills down. They just needed to speed up now.
That's a good strategy. I think we should try that. We'll try that this season coming up here, because the trainer we have, he's super meticulous, and he's not the fastest guy, but he's reliable. He shows up. He sees problems. He's in the shop making sure things are organized. He's thinking about team dynamics. Like he's got a really good managerial mind from my perspective. But he's not super fast. But he hits P4P. Like he'll hit 21, $22 an hour consistently.
Nice.
But never like, he's never getting yellow slips. If he does, he gets maybe like one or so, and he's looking at he's watching his dispatch board, and he's watching the Google reviews. And if he gets a negative review for something, he goes back and fixes it on his own. He's reaching out to me. Yeah. And it's kind of cool to see the difference between him and our faster guys, because they're more just like, let's just get the job done. And very similar to what you're talking about there, the cultural differences. And I didn't think about strategizing the training, putting somebody who's learned from him, his name's Will, and putting him with someone like Sully, who's very fast, very detailed, but also very quick and doesn't like to slow down and mess around.
Yeah, that's great. So if you had to do it again, what would you do differently?
Oh man, that's a good question. Do you mean in terms of starting my business originally, or starting with Augusta?
Joining Augusta. Because you did mention about the management part, and I've had other franchise do that too, and then they realize, they hear from Mike, you need to be down in the trenches for a little while longer before you step away. So you would probably do that differently.
Definitely, and having that coaching and that guidance to do that off the bat this season made a big difference. I would definitely do that differently. Like make sure that you're not skipping steps, going like from the laborer to the manager, the architect. If you skip the manager, you don't know what a good manager looks like. So how do you even
Right.
hire the next GM? You don't know what success looks like in that position. You can't relate. You can't relate to a GM. You can't really understand what they're going through because if you haven't gone through that, you don't know what it's like. And I definitely would work more on the being present with the team, being slowing down. I think as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to get going really fast and focus on the next thing and the results and the just like pushing and pushing and pushing,
Yeah.
and you forget about your people and you forget about that the fact they have a life and I'm not good at slowing down and being present with them and just trying to understand like what their personal life is like right now and trying to help them as much as I can personally. And that's actually a lot more rewarding. And I thought I was really good at that. I thought that's
Yeah.
something I was naturally good at, but I'm like, no, that was a huge blind spot I had, and something I still have. I still need to shore up that weakness and keep working on. But I find it's really enriching when you can spend time, even 5 minutes at the end of the day, and just like talk about, if it's a relationship problem or if it's something that's good in their life that they're just excited about, or it's a sport that they like, and just to build those personal relationships and create more of a team, more of a family type environment. It makes going to work in the morning a lot more fun, and you feel like a lot more cohesive, like you actually care about each other. You're not just in it for the end result, but you're in it for everyone's success collectively.
Yeah. So are you going to hit your revenue goals for this year that you set for yourself? Or are you one of those people that make it impossible?
I try to make it impossible. Usually, that's what I've done. That's what I've done in the past, and I found I got discouraged.
Yeah.
So, like, my goal for my first year was to hit 4. Really just on one thing that Mike said in one of the masterminds was he doesn't even really set goals because he just knows he's going to work really hard.
Yes.
And I found like, okay, that might be a helpful mindset for me. In the back of my mind, I still have numbers like in revenue, and our from November to October. So we just got our numbers for October a couple days ago, and we're 500, about 505,000 for this year, over that goal, which was a big milestone, and I'm really happy that we hit that. And we've been unprofitable the last 4 years, and going into Augusta, it's really helped with pricing and estimating accurately recovery. So now to put it in context, we were about 5% negative profit last year, and this year will be around 8-9%. So it's a 15% difference in profitability, and that's just one season with Augusta. So it's really good on that end of things too.
Yeah. That's good. So what's your long-term goal?
Our long-term goal is to get this location running without me. So I want to have a working GM, one person who is really solid. His name is Riyadh. He's a really smart guy, good with people. He's got lots of hustle, and our goal is to be able to make it so he can run the location. And however he really wants to take that, if he wants to make it so he's no longer a working gym, if he wants to work himself out of the fields and create, a $1 million revenue business where he's maybe managing the crews and they got an office manager, that's cool with me. But if he wants to keep it, within that $500,000 to $800,000 range, and he's a working GM, and he really wants to simplify systems, that's cool with me too. We actually still have to have more of a conversation about that.
Yeah.
This fall and see kind of where he's headed. I'm kind of thinking we need to simplify a little more.
Yep.
To make things easier, because we're looking to hopefully start a second location. And in order to do that more quickly, to make things more simple and easy on him, that's kind of what we're looking to do.
That's great. And so are you trying to get a location? Are you hoping to get a location right next to this one?
Potentially. There's actually we're our long-term goal as a family has always been to move out to the lower mainland, so just north of
Mm,
Bellingham, up in Vancouver. And there's not really a lot of locations out there available. That has been our long-term goal. And if the right situation comes up where we can move out there and it makes sense, we would probably jump on that. But that's going to come down to having a really good GM
yeah,
here, and
yeah.
also potentially starting that location or however that works with a really solid GM there as well. With the understanding there's probably going to be a little bit of back and forth travel that's needed at times if things are are going a bit haywire and need some extra help.
Yeah,
And then
that's very helpful for people to hear, because even figuring out the process of how you could possibly make that happen is a challenge. Like, so your whole point is that you would try to get him to run it efficiently without you, and then you would travel back and forth once in a while.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out or how that will work because I've never done it.
Yeah.
Um, and I know like a lot of multi-location owners say it's easier to have a location close by just for that proximity if you're needed for help.
Hmm.
Um, but I think if we were to do that, it would be simplifying things here as much as possible at both locations. And I know like Riyadh and I have talked about doing multiple locations here in Alberta or even Saskatchewan, which is the province just east of here. There's lots of opportunity there
Hmm.
for similar style business. And he's really like long term wants to be more of like 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 Chuck. He wants to be more of a regional manager and have multiple
Yeah.
locations that he's responsible for. So I think empowering him to be able to do that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so because you have him, it seems like it could definitely work for you to move and, take on the other location.
Yes, with the right people. I think that's the key is having the right people and the right manager at each location. And as you know, having the right general manager in the right place makes a big difference to the
Hmm.
success of the location. And that's something I still need to learn and work on. And I'm excited to focus on that next and kind of learning what a good manager looks like and
Yeah,
what how to manage a manager versus managing a crew is a totally different set of
totally.
skills that I need to learn for sure.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot different. There's a book, I can't remember who wrote it, but it's not what but who. So
Mm.
who you want with you to build the thing and scale. It's about the people.
I think I need to put that on my Audible list for
Yes,
sure.
I'll try to find it for you, and I've listened to that a couple times. It's very helpful.
Great.
So with the highs and the lows that come and the times you want to give up, has it been helpful for you to be a part of a community of Augusta?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's night and day difference for me. Just seeing other people go through similar problems, not even just being a part of the Facebook group and seeing the different posts that come up,
Mhm.
people struggling with things. I'm like, oh, I struggle with that, or I remember going through that problem, or seeing people with bigger locations going through struggles and issues and how they deal with it it's been super helpful being part of the community and being at conference and
Mhm.
last month being able to meet people in person. It was really cool. Just like it's such a good I'm just grateful for the group of people that are there. I can't. It's way better than I thought. Like
Yeah.
they're. It's just yeah. It's hard to explain, but we were actually talking with one person at conference. There was a bunch of us franchisees sitting around a table, and there was one person who's not part of Augusta, but she was thinking about starting her own company. And she was there with her dad, and they were kind of exploring options. And we were like, "Why would you not join Augusta?"
Yeah.
Her dad was like, "It seems like you guys are all like really genuinely excited about this, and you don't like really see that with a lot of franchise operations." And we're like, yeah, we just yeah, it's hard to put into words, but I just feel
Yes.
really grateful and blessed to be a part of an awesome group of people.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I found too. And we're very careful to vet people
Mm.
so that, if Lee talks to somebody and they say, oh, I have an A team and a B team, and then starts talking negatively about his guys, he knows they're not the people for us. And he really doesn't push at all to try to have them join.
And I'm really grateful for that because keeping that culture, I guess it's like the firing slow and hiring fast, keeping
Mhm.
being really careful and diligent about who you let into the organization does really affect the culture. And I remember, yeah, Lee, I felt really nervous talking with Lee because, he's the gatekeeper and you don't want
Yes.
to, yeah, you don't want to miss out on a great opportunity. And,
You're trying to sell yourself.
yeah, exactly. But he asks really good questions. He gets beyond the facade. He can cut to the core pretty quick. He's really good at that.
Yeah. So you are a part of Command Center and you are somebody that we communicate with every day, all day to take care of your office tasks. And at conference, Lee and I had these little side things that we wanted to give people prizes for, and most improved and they had a couple funny ones, coach's pet and that kind of thing. Well, Command Center, I put it out to our whole team to who is the best to work with and why. And you were the winner. And it was crazy. They would keep texting me names. They'd say, well, these two, it was very hard for them to choose. But then the positive things they said about you were that you actually took care of your customers and that you cared about the customers and you treated those at command like people, partners. And it was really interesting the things that they said that were a little bit different than the others. And were you surprised?
I was surprised. Yeah. I just thought like, well, they're just great people. They're really easy to work with. They make treating customers for me easy because I can actually manage it now. Like I'm not so overwhelmed by all the stress of all the incoming calls and texts and emails, and it feels like making decisions for a customer about what we should do with their file or with a certain situation is a lot less burdensome because I'm not the one also directly communicating with the customer. Like I don't have the pressure of making that difficult phone call, for a collections case, for
Yes.
example, or a customer that's been really rude or difficult to deal with. I don't have to. I feel bad. Like I feel guilty for Command Center sometimes because I'm like, okay, I need you to talk to this person, and we're going to cancel them as a client because they've been rude and disrespectful. But they're super, yeah, just eager to do a really good job of that, and very servant-hearted people, and they take care of the admin, which for me is
Yeah.
that's a very hard job, and if it doesn't go well, can make or break your whole business. Without them, I'd be I'd be swimming in a pool of despair.
Well, that's good. That's so good. Well, for them, when you already had a business, and so that is almost training the customer, retraining them, and they don't like it when they call and it's not you. So it's retraining the customer and trying to say to them, I am actually better at this because I'm going to get to you faster. So
Mm.
he's out working in the field. He would love to be communicating with you, but I can help you faster. And it's trying to train them, and they said that once they trained the customers, it was better because you could still be taking care of them. You're responding fast, you're giving answers to command, but they're actually the ones communicating with the customers.
Yeah, that's a really good way of framing it. Like they've done a really good job of taking that over and taking like leadership on how to communicate directly with the customers. And um, like our customers, when I talk to them in person, they enjoy talking to Command Center. When Max, like when the new AI system came on, at first they were a little bit like, "Who is this Max guy?" And
Yes.
now that they know it's a robot, they're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Like it really actually makes things easier for them. And a lot of people, yes, wanted to talk to me
Yeah.
directly, and I'm like, that's why I got Command Center in the first place, because you can talk to me and I'll be respectful and friendly, but I'll probably forget half the details you want me to remember.
Yeah. Because you're
And
out there working.
exactly, yeah, and then it's not a good conversation anyways. You're not happy because the next week comes and we do the job, and I forgot the three things that you told me to
Exactly.
do. Where Command Center is able to focus, get that information, get it in the job notes, have all the admin organized how it should be, and then the customer's got a really good experience from a full perspective from the business.
Yeah, that's great to hear from your side of things. I haven't quite heard it like that before, so I'll have to tell them you said that. That's very helpful.
Hmm.
So as we wrap up today, could you share? First of all, I'd like you to share for anybody that was in your place. Number one, the brand transition was probably a concern for you because you had the brand with your dad. How would you share with a new business owner who's thinking of maybe joining Augusta or even taking the jump to own their own business? How would you encourage them?
I would say make sure it's a good fit for you. Make sure you watch all the videos on the website. Ask Lee lots of questions. When you're ready to make that jump, just go for it. Go all in. Your brand, not to like shoot your own brand, anyone's brand down, but it's not as big as you think. It's not
Mhm.
as powerful as you think. And I thought, a lot of people would be offended, or like I thought like organically we're going to lose probably a lot of leads in the first year, even just organically, because we're switching our name over to something that people haven't heard of before, especially in Canada. I guess is fairly new up in Canada.
Mhm.
I already found that the branding has actually increased our recognition. Like I go to just actually last week I was playing some rec league soccer, and one guy said, "Oh, like what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I work with Augusta." He's like, "Oh, I see their trucks everywhere." Like it stands out super well. I get that all the time. I would say put your trust in Command Center early. Put your trust in the
Mhm.
systems when you switch over. Just go for it, because um, the faster you can implement what other people have already created, it's going to be better than what you've done. I guarantee it.
Mhm.
I mean, there might be the odd thing that you could somehow do better, but I really don't see how. But you're standing on the shoulder of giants, and just stand
Mhm.
on that shoulder and go with it, because it's way easier just to implement and go with it. And you're going to have a lot less stress and a lot more streamlined operations. And the faster you do it, the less, in between time there's going to be.
Definitely. Yeah. To break your own bad habits once you get started and you've messed everything up.
Cold turkey, exactly.
Yeah. So, do you have a favorite quote or things you listen to that would be nice to share with everyone?
Favorite quote would be from Winston Churchill, and it's one that's come back to me a lot. He says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, but it is the courage to continue that counts." And it also goes along with something that we talk a lot about in Augusta. We talk a lot, like Mike mentions a lot, and that's just not giving up. Just keep going.
Mhm.
If you just keep going and stay consistent, keep putting in the reps, you will be successful. It's going to take time. Don't get too inflated when you get success, whatever that means to you, because there's always more to life than that. And don't get so down on yourself when you have a problem, or a perceived failure. Learn from that and keep going. So that quote comes back to me a lot of times, and it just reminds me to keep on going.
Well, that's powerful. All right. Well, do you have anything else to share?
Other than that, if you're considering joining Augusta, I would highly recommend it, especially as being someone that was, myself, really attached to my brand and my own long-term goals of having this big, franchise of my own eventually. I found I'm able to do it much faster with Augusta, with a lot more help, and the vision and the long-term goals of Augusta to empower people, to raise a level of professionalism in the industry, and to really help team and raise everybody's financial, personal success.
Mhm.
You can't find a better way to do it.
Oh, that's great. I love it. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. It's so much appreciated. I know it's busy for you and it's a weekend with your family and you're taking the time with us. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate you too, Liz. Thanks for all you do with Command Center. You organize a fantastic team, and keep up the great work. It's awesome to work with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye.